Hello and welcome everybody to the 16th NA Arms Online Invitational. My name is Malif, pronouns they, she. I will be your commentator, your streamer, and your entertainer for this event. I hope you are all looking forward to a fantastic showing from these phenomenal players, as am I. The only way to tell is time. And we are ready to go. Everything's set up. We're raring. We want to see these players just hop in there and we can dive straight into our first match. We've got Foxy in here. We are about to get Glyph. And yeah, no, like, I don't remember exactly what player arms these two players have. I remember the characters. So I'm eager to kind of see what tools these two are going to be bringing to the field as we head into sparring ring for our first game. Let's head straight over there. And here we go. We've got Glyph with the Birch Huck, Popper, and Toaster. A very tried and true combo of weapons. Birch Huck is a very strong arm on Kid Cobra, as it has the capabilities of getting very tall. It gets the better form of the chuck when jumping, where the fun chuck itself naturally kind of has that situation when you're grounded, so that is definitely going to make it a little bit easier for us to see, as it's going to make it easier for the way Kid Cobra plays, as he's going to be hopping and bouncing and spinning all about the stage. And it's going to make himself a fairly difficult target for Foxy to be able to connect with, just because of Kid Cobra's momentum, his speed, and capabilities. Especially when on Foxy's side, we've got a roaster and we've got a parasol. Now, the parasol is a pretty strong tool against stopping lighter arms, but against somebody who's hopping mad, it's going to be a little bit tough to be able to block those out. We do see an arm swap as Foxy changes the two sides, but still, I'm curious to see if this is going to work out or not. As Glyph coming in with a very strong kit, very solid anti-aerials, and just some solid curves with how the Birch Huck kind of functions alongside Kid Cobra's high movement. Means that there's a lot of situations where he is going to be able to just position himself in a way that Foxy will not be able to contend with it and punish him out of the rush. I know players were just recently talking about some setups that you could do with Might and Bark to essentially create unblockables with the end rush pressure, but that you can't pull that off if your opponent just hard knocks you down, because you're stuck tunnel visioning your rush out into the blind open while your opponent's down south. "37 seconds left in the clock." Again, another rush stolen away from Glyph, who is currently holding a sizable lead, sizable contention here. Another freeze. We get a nice grab to finish things off, and that is Glyph taking the first game. Excellently done. Fantastic showing. And I forgot to update. I got a couple updates, so we're gonna, I believe it is there. There we go, that's better. Alright, so with that done, very solid. So we are now opening things up to our counter picks, which means that on top of our standard now current backroom stage list of Sparring, DNA, Buster Beach, Temple Ground, Mausoleum, Classic, Bread and Butter of our stage list. That also opens up Via Dulce, Scrapyard, now added in Spring Stadium, Ribbon Ring, Sky Arena, and Ramen Bowl. Those are 4 new added counter pick stages that were added this season. This new season of the ARMS NA Online. We've got a bunch of new stages, and I'm curious to see how players have kind of developed and grown with them. Just, yeah, because there's a lot of really neat stages, and it can be pretty... There's a lot of new strategies and tools and abilities that you can be able to pull off in some of these areas, such as Ribbon Ring, which I believe is the next stage we're going to be heading to in this location. It's generally a little more defensive, a lot more spacious, and you get those blocks to kind of give yourself a lot more vertical options and also some defensive options as you can obscure your attacks. So our players are going to be heading in, raring and ready to go to Ribbon Ring, and it looks like we are going to be sticking with our loadouts. Definitely very respectful. I know these days a lot of our players really like to just, they find their favorite and they kind of live and die by those blades. Long gone are the days of counter picking and swapping between the tools to really find a way to power through an opponent's strategy. Nowadays, it's very much just, you pick your arms, you live by them, and if they're not working in a matchup, you're gonna figure it out. Of course, this does bring a lot of complications, which we can discuss in a moment later, but it also means that it's really on the player's own is to be figuring out how to utilize their tools to the maximum capability, maximum efficiency. And right now, Foxy's struggling to find that efficiency. He's not even able to get these roasters to connect as he is trying to swing them out, chase after, but Glyph just barely out of range and is punching around these roasters, manages to claim yet another round point, looking for one more to claim a second set. Looking like Foxy's landed incredibly hard on the parasol, just hard, going for the plan of the hard bound, or block out of the Popper and Birdchug, just powering through with 2 very fast retraction arms, very defensive, lots of high range and coverage from these weapons, but can't really power through a rush like that. You're gonna just have, that's gonna force Foxy into a position where they kind of just have to eat it, and you can't really stop Herb arms either, as we're seeing, as Glyph wisely maneuvering the Birdchug around these 2 parasols. Despite the parasol being an arm that should hard counter the Birdchug, not doing so hot right now. Out comes the rush, and another problem we're seeing here. These burst type rush arms just cannot get in there in time. They cannot secure Foxy's defenses enough to ensure that he is safe while trying to go for the pressure, and it's giving so many opportunities for Glyph to just get painful punishes for Foxy, who is now on critical health. A single point will be enough to take him out. He's got another rush ready. He might need to use it. I don't think he wants to, considering how we've seen it used every time up to this point. Here is another unfortunate rush. Just more fuel for Glyph, who only needs to time things out. Foxy cannot find a way in. These arms are just a little too slow in this situation. We get a grab. He needs another grab to be able to close this out, but the timer ticks down, and that is Glyph walking away with game 2 in this best of 5, setting himself up with a very, very confident lead. Now, so what I was saying before about how a lot of players these days very much love to stick with their arms, and it's very valid. It's absolutely reasonable. I know for a lot of my life and my career as an arms player, I would spend so much time just like, you pick a handful of arms and you live and die by them, because it really helps you understand the strengths and weaknesses of those arms. You get to figure out the ins and the outs and know exactly what they struggle with. But the challenge comes when you figure out those ins and outs and you understand where these are bad matchups, and then you continue sticking with them. It's a huge challenge, but it's like there's certain places where you just come across a situation and you're like, no, this is a bad matchup. I need to swap. And if you don't swap, it's going to result in a loss. And that's a tough pill to swallow. Let's be honest, that is a tough pill to swallow, to be able to recognize, oh hey, this is a bad matchup. I need to do something to change it. Granted, that also ignores the main point that I'm saying a lot of this stuff, and a lot of it I personally feel is true. But we're also talking about players here who want to play random on the in the Invitational. You know, the big arms event where we're wanting to showcase all their skills, all of their abilities. And these people are so chill that they want to go random. I don't blame them. It's a fun thing to do, to just go random. But like, I don't feel like we're in that day and age anymore where you could really, where players are looking to do that kind of thing. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. We have a lot of fantastic skills, a lot of fantastic abilities kind of rolling in right now. Unfortunately for Foxy, that is not what we're seeing, as those Scullies just kind of got pummeled down, doing the inverse of what those Parasols were capable of. Really good for getting a lot of strong damage. If you can get around these attacks, you're not beating this. You're not beating that Foxy. That's a Flurry Rush. You can't parry past a Flurry Rush with 2 Parasols. I'm sorry, my man. I am so sorry. That is not how this game works. Bark is down yet again. Every time. It takes about 5 seconds for Bark to come back. It is a long, extensive recovery, and that entire time Foxy is left to fend for himself as he is trying his hardest to fight. Bark is going in for some additional punches. We do finally start seeing a couple of Parasol pokes coming through. It is hard to find these windows, but I feel like the Ramen Bowl environment is actually helping him out. We do get a sooner rush coming in from Foxy. Cannot follow up with anything special. Fails to get any notable damage, and now it's Glyph's turn as he rushes in. That is not going to be enough to KO, but we are now on critical health. Foxy can only take a single hit from the popper, maybe an uncharged, nothing else. He is looking for death. He is on death's door as 30 seconds come down. Needs to play a perfect game from here. And it is all on Foxy to be able to win if he wants to stay on the winner's side. Out comes the rush. He manages to connect. Is not successful in the follow through, but he is keeping this pressure. He is keeping this focus. We've got a weakened shield. Nice defense. 5 seconds, 10 seconds left on the clock. He gets one more hit. Both are at Magic Pixel. Next hit does it, or it will be a draw. Out comes the rush. He's not able to pull it out in time. Wait, Foxy had more health! He had like 5 more health there! Foxy manages to claim the point, and Glyph loses out on his rush. This is Foxy's chance. This stage is actually working out. The Parasol's just big enough, and because it's a lower dip, the Parasol is better designed for this stage, better designed for the movement that Foxy is going for, as he's not as often knocked into being a height disadvantage. That's where the Parasol plays a better tune, where a larger body is much more effective. It's a lot harder for Glyph to jump over the Parasol, and it's causing him a lot of trouble as it's finding its way in. He is trying to be aggressive, and it is paying off for Foxy. We do see a nice grab, another 170 damage. Glyph does have a health lead, but it is not a notable one. Both players about ready with their rush. Out comes the Parasol. He's not going to be able to pull it out in time. The second Parasol was held on too long. And that is going to be Glyph claiming the W on Ramen Bowl. and will be the victor of our first match for the NA Online Invitational. Absolutely phenomenal games from both players. Excellent counter stage choice from WaterFoxy at the end, but even then, it was just too little too late. Glyph had everything under control, knew exactly what he was looking for, and managed to secure a very clean and clear win.